Brihachrava.
Devashri.
Hare Krishna. I don't see the screen. Sutta uvacha Atatam sukham asin upasinam Shravaha Devarsihi Raha Viprarsim Vina Panihi Smayam Iba. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Okay, word for word translation. Sutta, sutta, uvacha, said, ata, therefore, tam, him, sukham asina, comfortably seated, upasinam, unto one sitting nearby, brihatrava, greatly respected, devarshi, the great rishi among the gods, praha, said, viprarshim, unto the rishi among the brahmanas, vinapani, one who carries a veena in his hand, smayan eva, apparently smiling. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, thus the sage amongst the gods, Narada, comfortably seated and apparently smiling, addressed the rishi amongst the brahmanas. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Narada was smiling because he well knew the great sage Vedavyas and the cause of his disappointment. As he will explain gradually, Vyasadev's disappointment was due to insufficiency in presenting the science of devotional service. Narada knew the defect, and it was confirmed by the position of Vyas. Text 2. Narada uvacha parasharya mahabhaga bhavata kachiratmana paritushyati sarira atma manasa evava. Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parashara, Narada inquired, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization? Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This was a hint by Narada to Vyasadeva regarding the cause of his despondency. Vyasadeva, as the descendant of Parashara, a greatly powerful sage, had the privilege of having a great parentage which should not have given Vyasadeva cause for despondency. Being a great son of a great father, he should not have identified the self with the body or the mind. Ordinary men with a poor fund of knowledge can identify the body as self or the mind as self, but Vyasadeva should not have done so. One cannot be cheerful by nature unless one is factually seated in self-realization, which is transcendental to the material body and mind. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Name. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurani Pachani Nirvishesha Shanavadi Paschada Deshatarine. So first of all, I'll point out that when you have a qualified guru and a qualified disciple come together, amazing things can happen. Here Narada Muni is Devarshi, the rishi amongst the demigods. Vyasadeva is Viprarshi, the rishi among the brahmanas. And how qualified are each of them? And they come together, and what do we get? We get this Srimad Bhagavatam from their meeting. So this is what happens when a qualified guru and a qualified disciple get together. Another example, prime example, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Prabhupada. They came together, and what was the result? A worldwide movement for practicing and spreading Krishna consciousness in every country and every place in the world. So I just wanted to say that beforehand, that these are such qualified people, and what it produced is so amazing. And the example it produces for us is also so amazing. We've already heard over the past couple of classes very nicely about Vyasadev's despondency. I don't want to rehash it too much, but talk about a little bit more about the solution to that despondency. And Narada really zeroed in on the problem here. He said, Atmana paritushyati sarira atma manasa eva va. Are you satisfied with the body and the mind as the objects of self-realization? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti puts an interesting spin on this. He says that Narada is asking, is your mind satisfied with your mind? Is your body satisfied with your body? Thus making it clear by his question that neither the body nor the mind are the actual self or the actual eternal objects of self-realization. This is really perfect questioning. A perfect question will often actually have the answer inherent within it. So he's doing that in his challenge to Vyasadeva. That your satisfaction obviously cannot come from the endeavors of the body nor the mind. And more specifically, Narada's question about the satisfaction of the body and the mind, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also explains that this is a rejection of the process of karma and yoga. Because the process of karma is based on the activities of the body, that you perform some work and you get some result. So this is the bodily aspect. This is karma. And jnana is meditation, knowledge, study, some kind of mental self-realization. This is all the product of mind. So Narada's challenge to Vyasadeva is specifically a rejection of the process of karma and jnana, which are respectively based on the body and the mind. So again, his question contains the answer, that you reject karma and jnana, and what do you get? And of course, the answer is anya bilashita shunyam jnana karma jnanavritam anukulyena krishna nushilanam bhaktir uttamam. And that's why he was inspired to compose Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the Amala Purana, the spotless Purana. Spotless, why? Because it exclusively deals with this pure devotional service. Anya bilashita shunyam. It's completely devoid of any other motivating desire. Karma and jnana are full of desires, whether it's desire for sense gratification, desire for elevation to higher planets, desire for liberation. It's saturated with desires. But what's left when you reject that is anya bilashita shunyam, completely devoid of other desires. Jnana karma jnanavritam. And that devotional service, or the actual self, should be completely uncovered by these processes of jnana and karma. Jnana, karma, adi, jnana, karma, yoga, all the different other human endeavors, religious or mundane. Anukulyena krishnanu. And on the positive side, so the first two lines of that verse are saying, what do we reject? Next line is anukulyena krishnanu, that you are engaged in serving Krishna favorably. Anukulyena Krishna, it has to be anukul, it has to be favorable. And Krishna, it has to be towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anushilanam, and it must be directed by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra in a systematic way, according to the Bhakti tradition, according to the Parampara teachings. And it has to be practical endeavor, not just some cheap sentiment. Anukulena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhaktir Uchate. This is pure devotional service. So this is actually Rupa Goswami has given the perfect definition of devotional service. In yesterday's class, there was a nice discussion at the end of the class about how do we know what is devotional service. So this is, generally speaking, the perfect definition of devotional service. And it's defined by its Swarup Lakshana, or its primary characteristic, or its positive characteristics, and by its Tatastha Lakshana, or its secondary characteristics or negative characteristics. Everything is defined by what it is and what it isn't. If you're describing what a dog is, there's the positive side. It's an animal, it's a mammal, it has fur, it makes noise. And on the negative side, well, it's not a cat, it's not a frog, it's not a turtle. So similarly, devotional service, what is it? That Swarup Lakshana, again, is three particular qualities: that it must be for Krishna. Anukulena Krishnanu, it's for Krishna, and Anukulena, it must be favorable. There must be a favorable intent in its performance. And Srila Rupa Goswami explains, Srila Prabhupada also explains that, for example, Kamsa's fighting with Krishna was actually a pleasure for Krishna. So you could say, oh, that's devotional service. No, it's not, because his mentality was not favorable. So everything is happening. Krishna's fighting, dealing with the demons. It's pleasure for Krishna, but because the intent is not favorable, it cannot be counted as pure devotional service. And Anushilanam, it has to be performed according to the proper method. It cannot be speculated or invented. That's Shruti Smriti Purana Di Pancharatrik Vidin Vina. That you can't perform devotional service without reference to the standard authorities of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Otherwise, it's just a disturbance in society. So this is the positive definition of devotional service. And the negative side is, what is it not? It's anyabhilashita shunyam. It is not motivated by other desires. There's no other desire except pleasing Krishna. Or at least your prime motivation is only to please Krishna. Anyabhilashita shunyam, devoid of all other motivations. And jnana karma jnanavritam. It cannot be covered by any other process. So this is how we understand what pure devotional service is. And this is also how we understand the fault in Srila Vyasadev's literary work up to that point, because he didn't work according to this principle. He didn't reject everything else. He didn't work exclusively for the pure devotional service of Krishna. Or rather, he was working for it, but the scriptures, because of their nature, cover so many things, so they weren't sufficiently exclusive on devotional service. And whenever there's a discussion of devotional service, these same points keep coming up. The other verse quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami is Sarvopati Vinir Muktam Tatpara Twaina Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Seganam Bhaktir Uchate. So this verse is actually making the exact same points, actually almost point for point, as Anyabhilashita Shunyam. Sarvopati Vinir Muktam. Sarvopati Vinir Muktam means you're giving up all other designations. So this is the same as Anyabhilashita Shunyam, that you're giving up all other conceptions besides pleasing Krishna. Tat Paratvaina Nirmalam, and completely purified of all other contaminations, which means by giving up jnana, by giving up karma, by giving up all these things. Sarvapati Vinir Muktam Tat Paratvaina Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesh. So what is devotional service? It's unto Rishikesh, it's unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sevanam Bhaktir Uchate. So this is devotional service. It's making the same points. that is devoid of other desires. It's uncovered by other processes, and it's favorably performed with the senses, practically, according to a system, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This verse is also the same as the answer to the sage's question, what's the best religion? Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktira hoksajay ahaituki yapratiyata yenat suprasidati. Again, the same points are there. What's the highest religion? It's dharma. It's a duty. It's a process. Just like anushilanam, savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktira adhoksajay. Adhoksajay, it's unto adhoksaja, unto Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ahaituki means unmotivated, which is the same as anyabhilashita shanyam, completely devoid of other desires, of other motivations. And apratiyata, it's uncovered, unobstructed by other processes. So this is the conclusion of so many verses. Srila Rupa Goswami also references 3rd canto verse from Kapila Dev. Due to time, we won't go into that one now, but worth looking at. So actually, I'll briefly mention that one. This is 3.9.12. I'll just read the translation. He says, the manifestation of unadulterated devotional service is exhibited when one's mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is residing in everyone's heart. Just as the water of the Ganges flows naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material condition, flows towards the Supreme Lord. So this is the nature of devotional service. Just like the Ganges flows down, in the same way the devotional service towards Krishna flows. Just like Queen Kunti's prayer, Twai me nanya vishaya matir marupate sakrit, ratim udvahatadha gange bogamadanvati. She prays, just like the Ganges, nothing can hold back the Ganges in its flow towards the ocean. So I want my attraction and my devotion and my service to Krishna to flow unobstructed in that same way. And at the end of Kunti's prayers, all of which are relevant, Krishna, he hears those prayers from Queen Kunti and he smiles. The Lord thus this is after Queen Kunti's prayers, the Lord thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. So Krishna's enchanting smile, and that's what I really wanted to talk about. This smiling of Krishna, this smiling of Narada Muni and Vyasadeva. When Narada Muni met Vyasadeva, it says, Vina pani smayaniva. Narada came with his Veena in hand, smayaniva, as if smiling. Prabhupada says about Krishna's smile, giving class on that verse of after Queen Kunti's prayer. He says, Mandam jahasa vaikunto mohayan eva mayaya. This Maya is not illusion. This Maya is affection. When a mother laughs, smiles, the child feels great pleasure, very much. The child on the lap of the mother is seeing the face of the child, and the child is seeing the face of the mother. Both of them are very pleased. They smile. So Maya, that Maya means affection. When Krishna smiles, he smiles with affection, and the devotee becomes enamored, becomes captivated simply by seeing Krishna smiling. That is the process, this expression, exchange of devotional service. So Narada Muni comes and he's smiling as if smiling at Vyasadeva, even smiling at his illusion. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains about that Narada was actually trying to hide his smile, but he couldn't hide it because he was so pleased knowing about the interesting discussions and the great realizations that would come out of Vyasadev's regret. And also in the purport, Prabhupada says, Narada was smiling because he well knew the great sage Vedavyas and the cause of his disappointment. So this is the smiling of Narada and Vyasadeva, even in his illusion. And of course, as I was reading this verse, preparing for this class and reading this verse over and over, I was reminded of another great guru and disciple pair who also produced a great result, where the guru was also smiling at the illusion of Krishna. And that, of course, is Krishna himself and smiling at Arjuna. After, in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna expresses all of his doubts and his reluctance to fight and so much. And then he surrenders to Krishna, or he begins surrendering to Krishna as his disciple. And it said, Tam uvacha rishikesha prahasanam eva bharata senayar ubayor madhye vishidantam midam vacha. That in the middle of the two armies, Lord Krishna was looking at Arjuna, and he was smiling at him. He was smiling as he began to speak. Again, in Baladev Vidyabhushan's commentary, he says that Krishna smiled at Arjuna as a friend, suggesting, quote, how has such thinking come upon such a person as you? I will make you sink in the ocean of embarrassment for having said such unsuitable words. He made a very slight smile appear on his lower lip, because it would be improper to laugh at Arjuna, who had now become his disciple. That is indicated by the phrase prahasan eva. So Krishna was laughing at Arjuna, trying to restrict his laughings just to a smile, but like that, and he actually seriously mocked Arjuna. Klaibyama smagama parta. Why have you become so impotent? Why have you become like a eunuch in your behavior, mocking Arjuna? Or a wise person doesn't lament like this. Why are you lamenting like a fool, lamenting like a Sudra? So in this way, very strong words, mocking, criticizing Arjuna like that, but with a smile. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that Krishna said, you have shown such lack of judgment. Laughing at him as a friend, Krishna could put Arjuna in an ocean of embarrassment for his unworthy actions. However, because now Arjuna took the position of student, laughing would be improper. Thus, Krishna suppressed that laugh by closing his lips. Instead, he slightly smiled. We have maybe even been in experience when we're talking with someone, or maybe even preaching, and someone says something, sometimes people are foolish, say something so foolish that you want to laugh at it. But if you're preaching, you want to be respectful, so you sort of bite your lip. We have that expression, you bite your lip, so you don't laugh. So Krishna was doing like that with Arjuna. And Prabhupada says about this in his purport, he said, the talk was going on between intimate friends, namely the Rishikesh and the Gudakesh. As friends, both of them were on the same level, but one of them voluntarily became a student of the other. Krishna was smiling because a friend had chosen to become a disciple. So the guru will smile upon the disciple, and that smile is a reflection of his mercy. But included in that, there may be so many things. Like when we smile in life, there's so many things. There may be elements of mockery or joy or encouragement, so many things. Prabhupada comments on this in a lecture. He says, so Rishikesha prahasan eva. Krishna began to laugh, smiling. What a nonsense this is, Arjuna. He was so enthusiastic in the beginning that, quote, put my chariot between the two armies, unquote. Now this rascal is saying, na yotsya, I'll not fight. Just see the rascaldom. So even Arjuna, Krishna's direct friend, Maya is so strong that he also becomes a rascal. What to speak of others? First of all, very enthusiasm. Yes, put my chariot between the two armies. And now, na yotsi iti govindam. So Krishna smiling. This smiling is very significant. Tamuvacha Rishikesha Prahasam Evam Bharata Senaya Ubayor Vishadantam, lamenting. First of all, he came with great enthusiasm to fight. Now he is lamenting. And Krishna is mentioned here as Rishikesh. He is solid. He is achyuta. He is solid. He is not changed. Another significance of this word Rishikesh, because in Narada Pancharatra, bhakti means Rishikesha Sevanam. So you can see how Prabhupada brought this around to this Sarvapadi Vinir Muktam. What is pure devotional service? That it must be unto Rishikesh. So this ties it all together nicely in Prabhupada's lecture here. That the spiritual master has a relationship with the disciple. By his mercy, he's always smiling upon the disciple in mockery or in pleasure. And it's all meant to engage everyone in Sevanam Bhakti Ruttamam, in this pure devotional service. And many disciples of Srila Prabhupada have commented upon Srila Prabhupada's smile. Many, more than one, I've heard saying how they simply wanted to see Srila Prabhupada smile. They would do whatever it took just to gain Srila Prabhupada's smile. So to illustrate this, and also because they're just fun and beautiful stories, I have a couple of stories about Prabhupada smiling. This is a story from the Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita told by, I think, Nandarani. This is at her wedding. She says, Swamiji said that it was proper that I cook. He said I should come to his apartment on the morning of the wedding, and he would help me cook something for the wedding feast. So that morning, I put on my best jeans and my best sweatshirt and my boots, and I went off to Swamiji's apartment. When I got upstairs, I walked in with my boots on. Swamiji was sitting there in his rocking chair. He smiled at me and said, "Oh, you have come to cook?" I said, "Yes." He sat there and looked at me one of those long silent stares. He said, "First take off the boots." So she came before Swamiji. He smiled very charmingly, and then immediately the instruction begins, a long stare, take off the boots. Swamiji said that it was proper that I cook. He said I should come to his apartment on the morning of, I said yes. He sat there and looked at me, one of those long blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, I'm reading over this again. I'm sorry, my printout here is a little unclear. So Swamiji gave to her a pot to clean. He said, "Clean this pot, we need to boil some milk in it." And she was scrubbing and scrubbing and more or less cleaned the inside of it, but the outside of the pot was still all black. She said, I had gotten about half the black off. The rest seemed to be more or less an integral part of the bottom of the pot. So I took the pot back to Swamiji and said, this is the best I can do. All of this is burned on. He said, yes, you've done a wonderful job. Now just take off this little black that's left. So I went back into the bathtub and scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed. It was almost midday when I came out of the bathtub with all the black scrubbed off the bottom of the pot. He was so happy when I brought the pot in. It was sparkling. A big smile came on his face and he said, "Oh, this is perfect." I was exhausted. So this is Prabhupada's smile. First a smile of greeting and a stern instruction. And then the disciple carried it out. She cleaned the pot sparkling clean and was rewarded with Swamiji's effulgent smile. Another time, a new devotee, Wayne, was there, and Prabhupada a little bit criticized. He said, "Oh, why do you want to spend so much time with that body?" Prabhupada replied, and Wayne felt Prabhupada's eyes look deep within him. "You are not that body." He said it so strongly that Wayne, who was easily hurt, felt like shrinking into the floor. This body is not as important as the soul, Srila Prabhupada explained. So we shouldn't spend so much time with the body, exaggerating its needs. Then he smiled at Wayne. Besides, all yogas culminate in Krishna consciousness. And Wayne felt that smile lift him completely out of his diminished and crushed condition. So he gives a stern instruction and also an encouragement with the smile. So that smile of the Guru is the manifestation of his mercy, of the Guru's mercy on the disciple. That he smiles and he encourages this disciple, and he rewards the disciple with a smile for his good following of the Guru's instruction and of the process of Krishna consciousness. And sometimes he gives a smile as a mockery or a reprimand for the disciple's foolishness. But in any case, it's the Guru's mercy, that smile, as the manifestation of the mercy of the spiritual master. And what's the mercy of the spiritual master? Samsara dava nala lida loka tranaya karanam ganaganatvam praptasya karana gunaganatvam vande guru shri charanara lindam. That the spiritual master is raining mercy, just like the cloud rains water on the forest fire. The cloud gets that water evaporated out of the ocean and carries that water and rains it down on the forest fire. In the same way, the mercy of the spiritual master is simply the channel for the mercy of Krishna to the disciple, carried down like that. So this is the mercy parampara, that the mercy of Krishna is coming and manifested through the smile and the instructions and the compassion of the Guru. And Krishna himself has his own merciful smile. It's like a smile parampara coming down. This nice verse, actually Hari Ashva used to always quote this verse. Madhuram madhuram vaparasya vibhor madhuram madhuram vadanam madhuram madhugandhi mridusmitame taraho madhuram 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 madhuram. Oh my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna is extremely sweet. Even sweeter than that is the sweetness of his face, and his smile, which is so soft and so sweet, sweeter than honey, is sweeter still. So Krishna is sweet, undoubtedly. And the beauty of his body is madhuram, madhuram, vaparasya vibhor. Madhuram, madhuram says madhuram twice about the sweetness of Krishna's body. Madhuram, madhuram, vadanam, madhuram. And talking about the beauty of Krishna's face, it says madhuram, madhuram, madhuram 3 times. His face is so sweet in its beauty. But as for his smile, madhuram, 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 repeats 4 times how sweet his body, his smile is. So this is the sweetness of Krishna's smile, and coming down through him, the sweetness of the Guru's smile on the disciple. Prabhupada says in 4th canto, the Lord is super excellently beautiful on account of his open and merciful smile and his sidelong glance upon the devotees. So Krishna smiling upon his devotees, Krishna smiling upon Arjuna, Srila Prabhupada smiling on all of us who are endeavoring to serve him in his ISKCON movement. This is the life and soul of the devotees. This is what sustains us in devotional service. And as Krishna is sweet, and sweetest of all is his smile, because that smile is the manifestation of his mercy. Prabhupada has also said that the greatest quality of Krishna is his unlimited mercy on the conditioned souls. So that smile is his mercy on us. And also, briefly I'll mention that Prabhupada says, I think I read this last Sunday feast lecture, about Krishna's mercy being described in Nectar of Devotion, saying that the devotees know that Krishna is very hard to approach So instead of praying to Krishna, they pray to Krishna's merciful nature. And that merciful nature is embodied in Srimati Radhika. So the devotees pray to Radhika. So Krishna's smile is the manifestation of his mercy. And Radhika is the embodiment of that merciful nature of Krishna. So Radhika is like the smile of Krishna's smile. If we can get Radhika's smile on us, how merciful is that? That she's considered even more merciful than Krishna. So the devotees simply want to get Krishna's smile and Radhika's smile upon them. And how merciful is Radhika in her relationship with Krishna? She's more interested in engaging other devotees and pushing them forwards to serve Krishna than she is in serving Krishna or enjoying Krishna herself. And when Krishna came with the mood and complexion, what's that verse? Duty, I can't remember the verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya came with the mood and the complexion of Radhika.
Krishna Varnanta Krishna.
No, that's a different verse, but Krishna. Anyway, I can't remember it right now. But Lord Chaitanya came with the mood and the complexion of Radhika. And what's the mood? The same thing. That mood of Radhika is to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere, to give everyone love of Krishna, to bring everyone into Krishna's loving embrace. So with Radhastami coming, we can think of that. Krishna's mercy is coming down through Radhika, through all of the disciplic succession. Krishna's mercy is there in that smile. And we want to ensure that we're behaving in such a way, meditating in such a way, serving in such a way that will get that smile from the spiritual master, that Krishna will smile. Just like there's another case, what's that? Krishna was with Lakshmi, and that, I wish I could remember his story. Yes, the devotee who was saying, oh, Krishna doesn't really give everything to his devotee. Is that it? And Krishna and, see now I'm mixing up the stories again. I'm sorry, forget that, just scratch that bit. But so many times Krishna smiling, giving his mercy to his devotee, and Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual master, if we could get them to smile upon us as Narada is smiling upon Vyasadeva. And then just like Narada and Vyas, like Srila Prabhupada and Bhakti Siddhanta, like Krishna and Arjuna, we may not make such a great accomplishment as the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam or this ISKCON movement, but on our own level, we could do great things and accomplish great things in that way. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Sorry, I got a little confused with my references there at the end. If there are any questions or comments, we could take them now. Anything?
Anybody has questions, you can ask them or raise your hand.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mataji.
Yes, you were talking in the beginning about pure devotional service, and you gave a couple of definitions of pure devotional service. And then,
Yes, speak a little louder, please.
I was saying in the beginning of the class, you gave a couple of definition of pure devotional service.
Yes.
And you talked about it, and then you were saying that's what Krishna, I guess, looking for, as that's what please Krishna. So my question is, I am very far from that pure devotional service. So whatever little bit of service I'm trying to do, is Krishna even looking at it? What to speak of smiling?
Well, one thing is that Krishna is looking at it because Oh, what's that, Jen? Let me see. Itratas charteshra bigya, that he's directly and indirectly aware of everything that's going on in the entire creation. So he's certainly seeing it. The other thing to remember is that the development of pure devotional service is not black and white, that one day we're not doing pure devotional service, then at some day in the future at 3:30 in the afternoon on March 5th, bang, you're doing devotional service. It's not like that. It's a gradual growth. So Krishna sees what you're doing and he appreciates the aspiration, the endeavor to engage in pure devotional service. Even if you're not pure, he sees in your heart and he sees what you're trying to do and what you're trying to offer, and he appreciates it. So he appreciates it, and as he appreciates it, that gives more encouragement to devotee to advance more and develop more purity, further purity, gradually. It's a long process. It could take a little time, it could take a lot of time, but it's a gradual process. And Krishna appreciates all of it, and he reciprocates according to where we are. It's also important to remember that even in a very neophyte stage, even in a beginning stage, even at the stage of sadhana bhakti, pure devotional service is possible. Our hearts may be full of material desires, but if we go to engage in devotional service and say, okay, my heart is full of desires, but I'm going to do this not motivated by those desires, but motivated just to please Krishna. That even if you have other desires, if your primary motivation is pleasing Krishna, then that's approaching pure devotional service, even in the sadhana stage. So according to how we endeavor, according to how we try, Krishna always sees it and always appreciates it, and is always helping us more and more to go further. Is that okay?
But how would I actually know that's happening?
How do you know? You may not know. You don't always, just like Prabhupada gave the example, like if you're in an airplane and the plane takes off, and if you're doing something else, you're not paying attention, you don't realize what's happening. Then all of a sudden, after a few minutes, you look out the window and say, wow, I'm 5 miles up in the air. So you may not realize at the time, but you have faith in the process. You have faith in Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And if you pay attention, and if you're lucky, you'll also be getting hints here and there of your advancement in Krishna consciousness. If you're feeling happy, if your material desires are waning, if you're progressing nicely in your chanting and in your preaching, then those are hints that you're advancing. But you may not know at every moment exactly how you're advancing or exactly where you are. But we have faith in the process, and we have faith in Krishna's mercy, in Krishna's smile upon us, in the Guru's smile upon us.
Thank you. I think that's the verse you go, Radha Bhava Jyoti Svalikam Navami Krishna Sarupakam.
Yes, that's it. That's the verse. How does that start?
I can't remember the beginning now.
Yeah, but that's the line. Thank you. From the beginning of Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, that nice verse. Any other question or discussion?
Just a reflection, Prabhu, at the very end, the way you said, we may not be writing the Bhagavatam or starting the ISKCON movement, but in our own way, we need to find ways to please our Guru. And,
Yes.
And not do it to show on the outside, but Krishna is within you. He knows what is going on inside my heart. So
Yes.
be true to myself and do the best that I can to please our Guru. We all hear it all the time, but like you said, some days you get that, today through you, I heard that, find ways to please your Guru, and we'll try and keep that in mind.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, even we may not get appreciation, but if we're actually following properly, serving properly, we can be confident that Krishna and Guru are pleased if we're doing properly. And also, if you're doing properly, it's also natural that a devotee will get some recognition. And of course, when that happens, you have to be careful not to be swept away by that recognition. But yeah, nice point. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending.
Thank you, Acharya Prabhu.
Are there any? Oh, is that Drona?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Do we have time for a joke?
Yes, please.
Remember, was it yesterday or Friday when you asked the question and you said about opening a Bhagavad Gita at random and reading something and it gives you some direction?
Yes. Yesterday.
Was that yesterday's or Friday's class? I can't remember.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay. So here's the story. I think this is funny. I don't know if everyone will. A sannyasi comes to a temple. He's visiting and he's there for the Sunday feast. And during the kirtan and during the feast, he sees way at the back of the temple, sitting in the corner, one devotee with a very sad look on his face, just looking morose and sad and not taking part in the kirtan and not preaching and not even taking the feast, just looking sad and depressed. So afterwards, the sannyasi goes to that devotee and says, "Prabhu, what's wrong? You look so unhappy. Is there anything I can do?" And the devotee says, "Oh, Maharaj, I'm in such distress. My bank balance is almost at zero. I can't pay my bills. They're about to tow away my car because I can't make the payments. I'm in huge credit card debt. I'm not making my mortgage payments. I'm in such distress." And the sannyasi says, "Well, I'm not a householder, so I can't really say anything about these business things, but Krishna will help you. Sometimes it works that if you just take a Bhagavad Gita and close your eyes and open a page at random, and with your eyes closed, put your finger down on the page and you read what it says there, that Krishna can help you. He could give you enlightenment how to solve your problem." So the devotee says, "I don't know, Maharaj, I guess I'll try it." So the sannyasi goes on in his travels, and a month later, he comes back to that same temple. And it's time for the Sunday feast, and he sees that same devotee, and he's dancing ecstatically in kirtan, dancing wildly and chanting and singing, and he's preaching to the devotees and taking the feast enthusiastic, and all with a big bright smile on his face. So afterwards, the sannyasi goes to that devotee and says, "Wow, what a change. I'm glad to see you so happy. What happened?" And the devotee says, "Oh, Maharaj, I can't thank you enough. I followed your directions and it completely changed my life." And he said, "Really? You tried that and it worked so well. So tell me, when you closed your eyes and opened the Bhagavad Gita and put your finger down and read, what did you read and what did you do that changed your life so much?" And the devotee said, "Yes, I took the Bhagavad Gita. I closed my eyes and I flipped through the pages at random, opened to a page, put my finger down, and I opened my eyes and my finger and the words under my finger said, chapter 11. So I decided to declare bankruptcy." Anyway, we'll end on that note. Are there any announcements?
Today is Snani Yatra here in ISKCON,
Awesome.
Philadelphia. We're 2 weeks away from the Philadelphia Rath Yatra. So please come today to bathe Lord Jagannath, and then he will go into seclusion for about 2 weeks and then reappear on September 25th to us at Rath Yatra. That starts tonight at 4:30.
Prabhuji, what time is the Abhishek?
Starts at 5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
It'll go from 5 o'clock to approximately 6 o'clock, but it has to stop no later than 6 o'clock. It's always kind of a tricky one because people trickle in at that time. So, oh, come on, these people just showed up, please let them go. But if we don't stop at that point, because they have to redress the deities and they have to get them ready for their offering and then artik, and that has to be done at a certain time.
So that will be in place of a lecture.
So there'll be a lecture from 6 to 6:30.
Okay.
And then there'll be an artik at 6:30 around that time.
So, Dronacharya Prabhu, the deities, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra will go into seclusion, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there will be Aarti, you said, after Abhishek?
Yeah. And the Jagannath and Baladev, they appear on this particular artik with a special appearance. Yes.
Okay.
So hopefully they manifest to us today in that same way. So and for that reason, everything has to kind of go according to schedule. So please don't show up at like 5:59 and hope to bathe the deities because we're going to be closing it at a certain point in time. Okay, hope to see you all tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
everyone,
Acharya
for
Prabhu.
coming.
Yascha kripa sindhubhye vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Everyone,
Thank you very
take
much,
care and
Prabhu.
stay safe.